We are live. We are back. Thundermoose, you crazy, crazy fool. What are you doing? You were just on last night. Everyone's going to get sick of you. Take it easy. Relax. We are talking about quite an amazing campaign. What? Talking about Drakenheim again? Wasn't that like 3 episodes ago? Take it easy. Relax. It's going to be all right. The reason why we are back on this kick, in case you didn't notice it, a certain personage has made a reappearance after a year of silence. He gave the critics an entire year to have their full say. He was polite, he was silent, he was quiet. And what did he get for that? Did any of the critics come up with something new? Did they revolutionize gaming? Did D&D get better while he was gone? I say the nay. There was one thing that Jeffro noticed while he was off in his self-appointed exile, having fun looking women in the eye, and that was Drakenheim, a campaign which, by following the principles he laid down before he peaced out, was the only thing with something new going on in town. So I brought him back. Guys, this is for me too. I need some advice. B-Dubs told me, Moose, it's time. You got to stop talking to people about this stuff and you got to do it. You need to run 1E in Umbros. And boy, I've been trying, but I need to get these geniuses back to get their advice in my life. But for people that have been living under a rock for the last 2 weeks, what is Drakenheim? Why is this important? Why should anyone pay attention to this campaign? Go ahead.
So Drakenheim started as a stress test for 5e.
Stress test. I love it.
The idea was that everybody would be a level 20 wizard. I thought everybody would want to be a level 20 wizard, or at least a caster, but a lot of people did not. Most actually didn't. Probably because being familiar with that many spells is pretty complicated, but that was the idea to start with. And then later it became you can be whatever you want within the PHB or the monster manual. So it started with a lot of friends and friends of friends. Some of the people it started with were warming up to bro ideas. This was the beginning of last year. Some did not understand it all. So, for example, I took a page from Alchemic Raker and started the world with a Godstein, which was kind of made famous by our friend Harmony.
Mm-hmm.
So each player was a god that they created. I told them that once the Godstein was done and regular play started, that I would take back control of all the gods. And some of the gods were pretty good. Some were not. I made the mistake of not specifying that the world would be human-centric. So the gods ended up being like the gods of aliens and furbolgs and halflings and like 4 different kind of elves.
Well, 5e, man, 5e is like, not only is it not humanocentric, it's humanophobic. I feel like 5e just rewards people just pulling everything out of the box of animal crackers and saying, I want to be this.
Yeah, you could say that, and you wouldn't be wrong.
Well, did you pick it because you wanted people to play? Like, why go with 5e for what you were trying to do?
So I picked it because that was the system that I could get a group going with.
That's
Remember,
right.
I started with friends and friends of friends. So anyway, you can tell by the way that the gods started out, there were some problems early on, some issues starting to show. There were definitely some story game kind of twee vibes, but as part of the God scene, I had these phases of creation, and the point of these were to add variety to the world, to create an interesting game board for the real campaign. Set up kingdoms and rivalries and wonders and interesting places to explore or conquer or whatever. So we start with the basic map. And then there was a phase to add features to it like mountains and rivers and whatnot, and fantastic structures like a massive wall or like a Tower of Babel that reaches up miles into the sky realm, stuff like that. And some of that ended up working out pretty well, but the time came when I started the phase where gods could actually fight. Like they could raise armies and go to war over territory and stuff.
Time out for a second. People were intimidated for a level 20 wizard, but then you were like, well, how about a god? And they were like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of weird. I think it was because I told them that, there was an endpoint, and I don't know. It was kind of freeform, so
yeah,
that had to do with
right.
it.
The Godstein, the idea was that it was just the setup for a coming campaign.
So you were saying it was a stress test for 5e, but I feel like a lot of the Broasar principles are really about protecting and preserving DM focus, energy, and effort. So the Godstein starts off as an idea to say, you know what, I'm not going to just like disappear for 2 weeks into my basement with a notebook and create a world and then inflict it upon everybody. I'm going to turn that over to you, and you tell me what kind of a place you'd be interested in. And I'll just try to catch up just enough to know to keep it running. Yeah?
Yeah. I can't remember if it was a blog that Jeffro wrote. He made the point at some point where you have to be a little bit of accepting of the ideas of the players. You have to just kind of go with it, even though it's maybe not what you would choose for the milieu. Because that's how you get them excited. That's how they
Wait a minute. Jeffro said that?
I swear he did. Am I wrong?
Wait, yeah, no, I'm sure I've said something like that.
Yeah.
If you will, well, and it goes back to Gary, observing that the campaign will become an alloy of the best players' personalities over time. And from the standpoint of people that want to, my hobby is making a product that I sell to people and I get money for it. This is a no-go for them because a campaign that's made by several different people making stuff up is going to be something that particular group is super excited about, and everybody else is going to be like, what this is horrible, and so, but yeah. So yes, I definitely said that, and and then in 2024, I did attempt to force people to honor the implied
like the
literary history of something like Traveler.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. And you probably knew that's what I was thinking of.
And fighting people on that. It got some grudging respect from like Black Lodge Games. They were like, Jeffro hasn't completely lost his mind. But I'm going to say at the table, like, it made people mad. It put me in a very adversarial relationship with everybody there, and because I kept saying no. I'm like, that's stupid. That you're a dummy. Like, you're ruining my game. You have no idea what I'm trying to do here.
Did you tell anybody else that besides
I think
me?
that's the important thing. So the last thing you said, Jeffro, was that basically the problem is that people are coming in and they're not on the same page. They're not versed in the literary canon that the game is about and that you're also trying to represent. So that was the disconnect.
Yeah. In 2020, everybody in the group was very fluent in Appendix N, and then later that was not so much the case anymore.
True.
And the game suffered because of it, in my opinion.
Well, I think remember that
this exact circumstance is something that impacted the Godstein that happened before the actual, like, the canonical Drakenheim campaign.
So I want to make 2 points before I ask a follow-up about that. First of all, I think Jeffro was absolutely right when we were playing Traveler and he stuck to his guns and he was like, Dunder, what are you doing, man? This guy is a joke character. I'm sure you're having the most fun with, but this is not the kind of experience we're trying to create here.
No, if I turn my back on you, you would go like even worse, like
Yeah.
have to come back and rein you in.
But by the same token, you were not you had a strong idea of what you wanted for the milieu. The whole idea, and Gary talks about this too, that the campaign is greater than or I'm sorry, the rules are greater than the campaign is greater than the players. But when the dice threw, you still abided by it, and you like, because I'm convinced, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. I'm convinced that the whole reason that you brought Fluid and Frog back was because you were like, he's trying to rob everyone's staterooms. I'm just going to kill him quick, get him out of the campaign, and then we can have fun. And then I beat him to the draw, and I killed him quick. And then it was like, from that moment on, my destiny in that game, actually my reputation.
No, you're like this in real life.
I have not stopped betraying.
You're like that in real life.
I have not stopped betraying people. If you watch 2 episodes back on my show, you will see.
No, there was multiple fatalities on that show, and it was all you, Dunder. It was like, it was. But like, you're laughing and you're having so much fun. Like nobody takes it, nobody holds a grudge about it. It's just Dunder. He destroyed me live.
We're laughing now. We shouldn't be. I lost a friend that night.
Good.
It's not funny. It's terrible.
Good. I'm glad.
Right on.
I am so glad.
Right on. So anyway, let me just to say, like, there is something about when you're reading a book. Like for me, it's Gene Wolfe. Is the first few paragraphs, you're subconsciously asking yourself, am I in good hands? Does the author have confidence in me as a reader? And I feel like there's a moment in a game too where the players are kind of asking the same question. And when you stand up to them and say, this is the milieu, this is the kind of game we're having, it, even though you may have had to fight some folk on that, it does command a certain respect. And so to get to Rule of Thul's point, it sounded like that started to go down in the Godstein. Serious DM, did you kind of have to put your foot down a little bit? And what was the reaction when you did?
Well, to tell you the truth, in the Godstein, I was just trying to get something going. So I was pretty accepting of pretty much whatever they said, which is why we ended up with some pretty regrettable gods. But we eventually recovered. That was a bit later. So
what was the worst one? Can we name it? Like, is your player going to get embarrassed if we call it out? Should they be though? Do they have it coming?
Honestly, it's been a while. They were kind of forgettable in a lot of ways. Which was your least favorite, Thul?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I wasn't involved.
Jumped in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was involved in the Godstein was just like the setup.
Well, man, I was just trying to betray one more person on the show, and you guys, you didn't take the bait.
I would love to. If I knew, I would love to rag on someone.
Now, wait, serious. Were you in the Oriental Adventures game? And I think it was 2023. Were you in that one?
No, I started noticing you guys early 2024, so I missed that.
Okay. All right. It was Thul that was in Oriental Adventures as the faction that caused the dungeon master to nearly
that was you, Thul. You wrecked that whole deal.
It's because of him. Curator was just it was like in the Inspector Clouseau movies where the Inspector Dreyfus starts having the facial tics, right?
It wasn't quite like that. It was just I was bringing stuff into the game. I was leaning, I had like a paragraph of let's say introduction written about my faction. And to me, it sounded like they were a sort of a conglomeration of several dark government projects. So I just leaned into that.
And then you lost it. Well, I'm just glad it wasn't me this time. So, getting back to Drakenheim, you wanted a stress test of 5e. Is that what you got?
I'd say so. I mean, a lot more than
stress
that.
test of you.
You could say that too. So the first issue came up. Like I said, the gods, the phase of the gods team came where the gods could fight, and I need to point out that basically none of these people were war gamers, much less used to PvP of any sort. Most were straight conventional players, and they made the very common mistake of identifying themselves with the god that they had made. So they were very resistant to the idea of their god losing in any real sense. Even though I told them that these gods were on loan, and that, I mean, they had nothing to do with the characters that the players were going to make for the real campaign, but they just couldn't let their gods go. So so one of the gods, the god of war, does what gods of war do, and he declares war on everyone, and he starts marching troops around to conquer stuff. Almost all of the other gods freak out. They put together this coalition to oppose this evil god and to stop him from doing stuff, his evil god of war stuff. Some of my players will realize this tune sounds familiar, and they are free to speculate on who the leader of this coalition of good gods was. But anyway, the point was that they did not understand the point of the gods team. Here we have a god of war who is going to shake things up, cause chaos, create drama that can fuel the real campaign, and the response of the other gods
provides focus. Yeah.
Everybody else was like, "Stop! We want the status quo."
They
were like trying to win the story, but not play the game.
Can't we all just get along?
Yeah, yeah. They didn't understand the bronze team. Not yet. Some of them did later, and then the rest filtered out in the early weeks of play. So
that's kind of wild. That is kind of wild. Because I mean, we had that problem in Trilopulus where it was like, and I think Dunder saw some games like this, maybe, or no, maybe you came in after this was at its max, but it's like the amount of cooperation going on in the campaign among the players was so advanced and so well executed that there was effectively no game anymore because the players would just get together and agree to just push everyone's interests forward together to get those levels to go up.
Yeah.
Which it's not the same culture as, like, they were doing it to be elite level power gamers.
They were doing it to basically win the campain.
Bully the DM, right?
Yeah.
But there's no game. There's the effect is the same. There's no game there after that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been said in like a game design principle is something to the effect of players will eventually optimize the fun out of the game.
It's so true. So this is a miles distant comparison, but I was invited to play in a 5e game with a bunch of British dudes, which is, as an American, kind of intimidating because, like, what's the first accent you're going to reach for, right? And then, like, they would know. But it was one of those 5e on the rails, scripted, written by the DM, and everyone waiting for their plot coupon. And my character, I was supposed to have a fight on a barge with a bunch of kids. I don't know why that was set up. But as a bard, I used my persuasion. I got them to throw their leader in the river, and then I took them over as a merry band of pirates. And so when we came to the first interaction, I had 5 guys with spears. And it was like, did you ever see the movie Inception?
Yeah.
So the scene where he takes her, the characters are her. Regardless. Irregardless, they start doing stuff to change things, and you see all like the passersby and the extras like start staring at them like, what are you doing? What's going on? And it's like the system started rejecting the agency that was happening in the inception. That's what the game felt like. Like the other players were like, what are you doing? We're not going to find the next plot coupon if you try to take over the wheel. And it was just so, I feel like bro campaigns have that rite of passage where people, they fight the chaos that's coming. And it's, guys, you're at the top of the top thrill dragster or the Magnum at Cedar Point. You just need to put your hands up in the air and feel the rush. That's my take on it.
You would think that they would go for it. Like, I mean, like David Wesley tricked everyone into playing the Bronstein, and Mephrodis taught that, you know, an elite level power gamer could come into the game and elevate the play.
I mean, all of those guys were war gamers, though. Like you can't put a single guy into a completely broken, you know, conventional zombie campaign and think that he'll save everyone.
Yeah.
Well, he will save some people who like were already destined for that kind of realization. But you can't save everybody because not everybody actually belongs here.
Well, so we're kind of in the distant past. I feel like this might have been before Drakenheim mattered. Like, at what point did you feel like the NOS kicked in? When did the turbo boost hit?
Well, that was okay after the Godstein and the real game got going, and I realized we needed more players because the world was huge and there were just too many pockets of activity that didn't interact. There was too much solitaire going on.
Yeah.
And then plus the game was kind of tepid because, you know, people were still kind of feeling out what they could do. They hadn't figured out, you know, that they could pretty much do anything that their PC could do. And they were still afraid of PvP. So I started to invite bros.
Right on.
And sure enough, as they started filling in, the game's engines kind of ignited, right? There were some coughs and sputters, but there started to be just like a ton of convergences, a lot of heat.
Okay.
And that was about when Thule came in, actually. So it was probably about then when it really took off and started flying on its own.
Were you using like any of the stuff that we've talked about on the other episode at this point? Were you using GOS? Were you using Scene yet? Or was this still before those kind of had come along?
I was using Scene, but it wasn't called that. It was like I wasn't enforcing the rule that if you make an order, there's got to be a post about it. I mean, unless it's just like kind of a throwaway thing, you know?
Yeah.
So
what was the problem that like got you to consider that? Or how did that first gel for you that it's like they need to be posting this themselves? They can't just be sending me private messages and I've got to try and tabulate all of this and then put something sensible out.
Well, from the get-go, pretty much, I realized that I was just going to die if I had to manage all of that. There's just no way.
No, that's brilliant, because like when I was in that situation, I was like, you know, if everybody kills each other, then I can like go back to having a normal life again. And I just can't believe anybody else thought of something else to do in this situation.
No, I have that. I have that. I know that feeling in my bones. Where you just want people to die so it's not a problem anymore.
No, I have not tried to do that. Since I've been running 1E, I've had 6 sessions. There have been 12 fatalities. I'm not doing it on purpose, but I have felt the relief.
You know, it ties things up pretty nicely sometimes. Back to the matter.
Yeah. So here's my other question then. So you kind of develop this culture of like, somebody has to have seen it or it doesn't matter. I'm not chasing every one of these. How much did you still feel like you had to be on top of the stuff that was seen, or how much could you just be like, you know what? they all saw it. Maybe I don't need to fit this in my head because they're going to react to it either way.
Do you mean like how much I still needed to maybe coax people to notice things, or like how much I had to write myself, or what do you mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm just, the experiences I'm having in Umbros, there's no way that I have the wherewithal to pay attention to everything that I need to be a good DM.
Yeah, that's actually very important.
But with the scene system, I'm not the source, right? Like the players can feed each other. So I guess to the point, how neurotic should you be about keeping track of all the stuff that goes up in scene, or can you kind of let go and let the machine run itself and like I don't even know?
I have not tried to just let go of the wheel completely. Sometimes I guess you could say, put it on cruise control.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of skim what's going along, what's going on between players, what's getting posted, rather than like fully read and understand and get the implications, and that seems to work out just fine. What I fear would happen if I just completely disconnected and was just basically the middleman, for sending all of this stuff, is somebody would message me about, some shenanigans, right? That they want to get involved in. And then I don't have the context for that. And then I kind of misinterpret what their overall goal is, right? Like, and then I, pull the trigger on that, and then they come back and they're like, what happened? Why, because I didn't understand. So,
I have something to say about this from the player perspective, and it's probably very different. But these questions you're asking him about, like how much can you just let the machine go and run itself? The biggest thing that occurs to me is like there's so much stuff going on that if you don't read the news posts, you become very ignorant very quickly.
Yeah.
And that applies to the players too. So it's like if you don't read the news and rumors, stuff that's coming out, you can very rapidly fall behind, let's say, in the information war. But
no, and this was speaking of the referee perspective, like in Trollopolis, when we were first trying these things out, like we didn't have any idea how this was supposed to work. We just saw in the rules that the rules assumed that certain things would be happening. So we thought, okay, we'll do those things and we'll figure it out later. I mean, because we don't understand this yet. But in 2022 in Trollopolis, like Doronal was running a group of dwarves in a solitaire. One, the referee had some hands-on. Macho Mandolf was doing the domain wilderness clearing stuff, and very in-depth, more than I could keep up with I wasn't refereeing, but it was just a massive, and we didn't even know how that rule system worked yet, until we'd done it for a year. And then I had a friend that came in, and I just gave him a 12th level wizard and turned him loose on that domain hex clearing stuff. And, and he was sending henchmen to Trollopolis to train, stuff like that. But there was no way. And then Dan had a high level necromancer or something that had some artifact that was it was the hand of Vecna, right? We had a guy in the campaign with the hand of Vecna, but when they're all like on different places of the map, and they all have total autonomy, it's like, how do you make something out of this? And at the time, we just went wherever the excitement was, wherever enough critical mass of players went, that's where we went and played. And then we had all this stuff just kind of like not getting used or not being incorporated into the event.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I heard about what Sirius was doing with Scene, it's like, gosh, like we spent a year like wondering what was missing and trying to figure out how to make this. I mean, Brovenloft ended up coming out of what we were doing. So, I mean, I don't, everything we did, it was great what we were doing, but it could have been so much better in the week-to-week sessions and the month-to-month, everything developing organically. I think we would have held on to more of those players running those things, and the interactions between all the things. Like there was no visibility into the fog of war for and like this to me, it's like, I don't know. I just think it just completely changes how, like, we have to rewrite all of our documents that describe BroSR best practices now, like for every campaign.
It's the kind of thing that makes so much sense too. When you look back at it, you think, oh man, why didn't we do that? But it's not that easy to come up with. I feel
you got to
like
be deep and you got to be doing it.
Yeah.
No, right? How did you know? How did you? Because like in 2024, when you came into the scene, Dubs and I were saying that solitaire play is bad. It's destructive to the campaigns. Dubs and I were saying that people farming the wilderness encounter tables, and layer smashing with those axe procedures. Whatever, I don't know what they are, but I do know that the results were damaging to campaigns. That just letting that stuff go is just like it's just terrible. Like it just. And so, and we had arguments in the BroSR because Dubs and I would say diffusion is killing our campaigns. We have to do something about this. And then the other side would say, oh, well, no, like, well, Fluid the Druid, he wrote this essay on, you need diffusion to fuel the convergence, and it's a good thing. And I'm like, I don't know about this guy. I mean, there's something wrong here. So like, no. Yeah. So we didn't have the slightest idea that there would be a solution here in 2024, and then you figured this out. And I want to know more about how you knew to do this.
So I remember reading a lot of posts about diffusion and convergence and the whole engine, and it made immediate sense to me. Made immediate sense that convergence is that's where the bang is, that's where the fun is, that's what gets people talking, all the excitement. But at the same time, now diffusion, you can think of that's got to be there somewhere, right? Because people have to go off, they have to get resources or information or kind of build up their advantage, for the coming.
Yeah, I think fundamentally on the point of diffusion, really the best argument for saying we need diffusion or we need diffusive action is that if you don't allow people to do that, you are just trampling on player agency. You're just taking it away, and it's very arbitrary. So that's like the crux of the argument, let's say, between people that say it's fine or it's not. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, it's important. So I understood that you've got to have convergence, but diffusion you've got to keep a close eye on. And I didn't know the best way to do that other than to just have a post on my server that basically said keep an eye on that, players. I don't want turtling. Like if your game plan is to farm until you've got all the resources and you just want to steamroll the whole world and win, then that's not this game,
Yeah.
But I didn't really know. I didn't know.
Right. I remember reading that. And also I remember, so like from the player perspective, right now on the server, scene is more formalized. Like we understand better the mechanism. We understand like what's happening with it. And so its description is more formalized than it used to be. It used to be just part of the guidelines for play. It's like, you have to do this. You should be trying to do this. You should be trying to do this. But now, I mean, like seeing how everything developed, seen as a more it's a concrete element in the game rules.
And I think like that guy, I think his name was Barros Boogs, the guy who was at the hospital. He was like, not only did he go through and analyze every spell in 5th edition in order to figure out ways to like put people into no-win situations. He spent countless hours doing this. I didn't know that anybody could even do that. That just but no, like when he talked about the many months of play that he did, like he would see things in the rumor list and he would go fight somebody and fail and then pull back, and then he would just study the heck out of seeing the rumor reports, and he would figure out everything that was, more or less figure out everything that was going in, and then come back and then win against people. And that's just
I was talking about earlier from like the player perspective of scene. First of all, to people that are listening that are not as familiar with this stuff, scene just means the scene system is that when you give some kind of order or you're out in the world doing something, you have to make a public post that is talking about the thing that happened that you did. It doesn't need to, you're not like telling everybody what your dice rolls were. It is not like the procedural mechanics or nothing like that. It's just like if somebody had been there and they had witnessed it go off, what would they see? So it's not even necessarily telling you the whole truth either. It's just what is apparent. And from the player perspective, like I was saying earlier, it's very easy to fall behind if you let a bunch of posts stack up and you're not paying attention to them. It's very easy for you to lose track of things that are happening, which you could potentially infer by understanding understanding and analyzing the contents of those reports. But I forget the other. It was a little bit while back, but I forget the other like element I was going to talk about.
To me, the big elements of scene are you want to make the action discoverable. You kind of want to create some FOMO. This is happening. Take a look. Get involved, and you want to create an entry in basically the world's history. Like this happened. This really happened.
Exactly. So the scene post is always, that's another thing that's different from other stuff. When there's a scene post, it's a guarantee that something happened there. It's not just fluff in the wind. It's not just like, somebody wrote a misleading thing where nothing happened. It's a guarantee that something happened.
Now, wait. Did you anonymize the scene posts?
Yeah. Okay. That was critical. So people would, like if they go like send, I don't know, like an agent to go create a weird undead plague, which happened, then there's got to be a post for that. But the post isn't going to be like this player or this PC did this thing. It's gonna be like, something weird happened in the district, of this city where some undead were seeing blood. It's going to be kind of hidden like that. It'll give you enough information to follow up, to investigate, to find out more. But you'll have to do some legwork to do that.
Now, and did you have people on the map sending out scouting groups, like say 50 20 or 30 goblins on wolves to just go over here and tell me what's over there? Was it at that level of resolution, or did the 20th level magic users mean that you only had like one big piece in play at most of the time?
So 5e is all about the superheroes, as they level up. It's not so much about the individual soldiers. Those don't really move the needle. And especially in a game where you have like 20th level wizards flying around who can cast Meteor Swarm every day. Yeah, it's crazy.
I think I can answer that somewhat from the side. I can answer the side of that question because I did not control PC. I controlled basically a monster faction, and in my monster faction, I did have spies that were basically they could literally turn invisible. So when I sent some spies out to just keep an eye on something, I generally would not make a scene post because literally nobody would have seen that. If
So
if he told me,
if I sent
DM
that though?
if I sent spies out and he told me you need to make a scene post or something, then I would do that.
But serious, how did you DM him sending spies? Like, how did you tell him what he wanted to find out without tipping the other player off that something invisible was? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. That is a very important question that I'm glad that you raised because I forgot all about that. But it's something that 5e especially is not made with PvP in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't know of any system that allows kind of like asynchronous resolution like that.
Yeah.
Because the problem is the challenge of the DM in those situations is so if somebody gives orders for X, right? And then somebody else unknown gives orders for not X, right? Something that will negate X. Then you have to kind of fairly adjudicate that as best you can using the systems that you have. And sometimes all you can really do is roll some dice. And sometimes honestly, it comes down to like a coin flip because there's no system that'll really help you. And so you just say, I want to be fair here. So you roll a die and then you say, this is what happens. But you just have to do your best to rely on, like if they have any related skills or abilities or features, then you just basically you read the rules.
It's like you're trying to find something relevant that's already in the game mechanics, and just lean into that for that circumstance.
Yeah. I scoured the rules many a time, especially in PvP situations, because you've got two players and you want to be fair. Somebody's going to take an L, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And you've got to do your best to just try to play raw and see where it goes.
I should say that on the specific question about if somebody sends out a scout, and then somebody in like Sirius, he's the DM, so he needs to say, okay, they have a scout here, so let me see what they see. But he doesn't know all the little details. The players keep track of all their details and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he has to go to the player and say, what's over here?
Yeah.
That happened to me a couple of times. And I mean, it kind of tips you off. But on the other hand, you just say, it is what it is. Like that. It's like, how should I put it? It would be wrong. It would be not just bad role playing, but it would be unsportsmanlike to say, well, now I'm gonna heighten the defenses here or whatever because there was somebody poking around here. But I just came up with whatever the description he wanted and gave him the information and just carried on with the plans I had already declared. Right.
Yeah.
So that's another important thing about declaring your intentions, declaring your plans sort of like over the week, so that you don't circle back around and you're limiting your own potential to metagame and things like that.
All right.
Yeah, that's that happened in Jeffro's game with me and Scudder Mike, where my character was given a truth serum and Jeffro was DMing, and I absolutely told him something that would lead to my death. But it was like I was having so much fun playing the game, and I was like, he got me to take the drug, so this is just what happens.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's how it happens. I mean, the
And
truth
like you
serum
get
is
the
the
feeling
rule.
that if you don't play up to that you're violating some kind of contract or something.
Right. No, it's the laws of the playground from when you were in the second grade. We all know. I
mean, I
when
think
someone,
if you don't do it, you're just simply playing wrong. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Now there's one idea I want to bring out here. I hope it's not too far off topic, but it's something I'm thinking about lately, partly from conversations with Crossface. But like, there was this famous essay by Ron Edwards called System Matters. And a lot of role players would say, oh, well, a good DM can make a bad system fun, right? And then another thing, we found the idea of these campaigns by faithfully applying rules in the old games. And it was like, oh, well, it's like having a new toy to play with. And then and then one more piece that maybe this is all not stacking up to a coherent thought. I hope I got Thule here to speak for me, and maybe but like when you watch Joy of Wargaming, John Mollison has run miniatures campaigns on there with these armies moving around on the map, and then armies will meet at a certain place on the board. And then he will say, okay, here's the order of battle for both sides. Here's the terrain that they're at. And he would hand that battle off to his viewers. And they would all run that battle in a different game with different refereeing. And they would all report their battle results to him in the comments. And so, at the session level and at a dungeon delve and when you're actually adjudicating conflict in these things, like there's times when like the rules really matter. I mean, that's the thing you're playing. Like when these 20th level wizards are fighting each other, they're using rules mastery to try to kill each other with a very specific set of things. But then other times, like at the campaign level, there's some things that happen in the game because of the nature of the campaign, like the rules suddenly don't matter at all anymore. It's really the campaign that's making everything happen. And you can see that again with Brovenloft, where we had people from multiple campaigns with events and characters moving between them. And I would send Swordbringer from Trollopolis into Dubzaron, and we had two totally different systems, but like it was timekeeping that allowed us to coordinate, not the individual RPG rules. And everything worked fluidly. Like rules didn't matter then. So it's like sometimes rules matter, they're everything, and sometimes it's like the campaign that's doing the heavy lifting. So this is not a coherent thought. I'm just throwing that out there.
I can make it coherent. So I was going to say that the important ingredient here, or like the idea that combines these two together to make them a non-contradiction, is that the rules are only there to answer a question that you don't know the answer to. So any question that you can answer without saying, oh, like I need to look this up, I have no idea, or anything that is not, how should I put it? Like the absence of a formalized system doesn't mean that you can't answer the question.
Right.
It just means that
there's a line in OD&D that says, if you've got a question about how something works in the game, just imagine how it would work, and that's the answer.
I mean, that's sort of the just direct from Free Kriegspiel, like the idea of having the officer, like you go to ask the officer who was in the Prussian line of battle, who's experienced with war. You ask him what would happen, he just tells you how in his experience it would play out. The rules are only there to fill in because you're not that guy and you don't have that knowledge. But many things in the campaign, I mean, like, if a guy says, well, I turned left, and another guy says, well, I turned right, you don't need to look up a table. You don't need like a table to tell you what to do. You don't need to roll a die. It's clear what happens because of the nature of the circumstances.
So I'm gonna correct me if I'm wrong here. I kind of got my hands around something. we needed to do rules as written to discover the laws. There's the rules that are written down in the book, but then there are these overarching laws that you have to discover. And one of them, and you only discover it by playing and bumping into the problem and seeing what works. And I think one of the reasons that Scene is such a revolution, because some people on the outside may be like, what's the big deal with Scene? Here's the problem. Before Scene, the DM's job, especially in a Bronstein, was to keep people from turtling, to try and like shove them towards each other. And it came across as extrinsic. It came across as heavy-handedness and violates my agency. And the revolution of Scene is that you tantalize the players with each other. You throw something out there that makes them intrinsically want to mess with each other. They see somebody else doing something that's turtleish, and they're like, I'm going to screw that up. And it's not heavy-handed. It's not the DM. It is just one of these laws that we have discovered by playing by the rules. And so people that get on Twitter and they're fighting each other about, oh, well, you're saying rules is written and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you don't understand. The rules is written was the stepping stone. It was the gateway to get to the deeper stuff. And once you understand it, you grab onto the laws, you grab onto the principles, even if it means letting go of some of the other stuff.
Right.
And
these types of games, the multiplayer conflict games under a fog of war, always on. If you're playing a game with those qualities, there's certain play dynamics that are merely a fact, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It works the way that it works, and it seems to be consistent across systems. And there's another layer to that, in that the role-playing game scenario is played within these systems. These systems are not defined by the rules. It's sort of like if you play chainmail in a campaign, right? The chainmail rules don't tell you how to set up a chainmail campaign, but you could play chainmail as part of a campaign. All right, how does the campaign work? Right, the campaign works the way it works. It follows, to make it a good campaign, you have, there's just certain things you have to do to make it work well, right? And so it's really, these campaign rules are really like the meta. They're a game about the game. They're a rule. It's a meta.
I mean, things like Scene and Goss, I think of these as campaign management tools. They're not they're not rules that sit in the book that tell you how to adjudicate a specific question. They're like, they exist above and beneath everything. Like they surround everything that you're doing in the first place. So like, the idea that Bronstein is inescapable when you're playing an RPG is like, you always will end up there if what you're doing is correct. If you're even trying, you'll end up there.
But that's the thing, is like, these are like discoveries of sort of like these transcendent ideas, or like these physical laws. Like it's a real legitimate discovery. And the fact that we are discovering these things from me saying, oh, that D&D is a Bronstein, and then Doomstone Crom coming out and saying, hey, these session Bronsteins work way better if you use Goss, right? And we're like, oh, well, I didn't know that, And then a year later, Sirius comes out and says, well, hey, if you're running an always on campaign, you've got to use Scene or you're going to die, right? Yeah. And it's like, and we're all like, man, I wish I thought of that, like, because it's so obviously true, right? This is the evidence that there has been no Bronstein play in the RPG space for 40 years.
Exactly. Other people don't even talk.
If people had been playing this, someone would have discovered this before us.
So I actually have a further point. So we've been talking about Scene so far. Everybody's kind of been focusing on the game runner's perspective, but Scene has a dramatic influence on the player. it's just as dramatic an influence as one-to-one time is, because it makes you approach everything that you do differently. Because from the player perspective, if I'm thinking about some kind of plan or executing something out in the game world, I have to think to myself, however this turns out, however the dice roll, however the adjudication happens, I am going to have to make a post about it, because there will be some kind of trace of it out there in the world that, let's say, an eyewitness or a rumor or something, some kind of sign somebody would see, and I have to think about the form of that, and that in itself, that reflection on well, what am I going to post? That makes you plan differently. That makes you approach the problem differently, because you're against other people who, if you reveal too much to them, they will take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So
you can't have
affects...
a permanent thick fog of war, because that doesn't lead to game, but you can't have it totally evaporate either. You need to preserve it and poke little holes in it that people try to peek through.
So my main point here is, like, yes, this system, this idea saves the game runner just tons of time and effort, in the long run. But the other thing it does is it aligns the players much better to play the game correctly, like to play the game as if others are there and as if they are a potential threat or potential allies, and it changes the dynamics of, like, the diplomacy between the different factions, and between it changes the way the whole game is approached.
No, I'm calling it right now. It's a panacea. It's that good of a
I really think
that good of an idea. There's going to be someone
too many problems all at once.
What's going to happen is this Crossface. Like, there's people who just can't understand what we're talking about on here, and Crossface will look at what we're talking about, and he will dumb it down into the stupidest slogan, and then that's going to escape into the RPG discussion space, and it will be talked so much that you will not want to hear that slogan ever again, and you'll want to be tearing your hair out. But no, the people that can't understand this right now, someone in that group of people that will only be unleashed on us if Crossface does not keep his mouth shut. Right? No. Someone in that group of people is going to be talk about this for 45 minutes, and he's going to, like, stroke his goatee, and then he's going to, like, look into the camera and say, I don't know what these guys are going on about now. I mean, they're talking like the scene thing is a panacea, but that's ridiculous. It's not. And that will be someone who has not played a single session Bronstein that is saying that. I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to bet on the color of the sky next?
Here's the thing, and I am so tired of people trying to tell me how they used to do it. I am so tired of people telling me what Gary did or didn't do or know or right. I'm so tired of people saying, well, that's all already been written down and you're just copying and pasting. No, we had the courage, thanks to Jeffro's leadership, to try what was actually written down. And then we hit the problems that everybody else punked out of and didn't hit head on. And we started discovering the laws. So yes, we started with what's written, but this stuff is innovative. This is brand new. And that's why I know there are people sitting on mounds of ancient games that have not been released to the public. People that like to write books and vilify the guys that started all this, right? And everyone's thinking, well, if I'm just nice enough to them for long enough, they will open the treasure trove and I'll get the secrets. Well, guess what? This is where it's happening. We are more advanced than that now. We have followed the trail to the frontier, and we're dealing with stuff that either they never dealt with or that they never admitted to. And so I'm done with the past. I'm interested in what we're coming up with right now. And that's how we got here. But yeah, I don't want to overstate it.
Yeah,
picking up on what I'm putting down.
Picking up on that, I would say to people that are listening that are maybe not as familiar with like if you're listening, you're saying, what is the big deal about scene? Well, this question is best explained by imagining what it's like without scene first. That's the big thing. So this is actually, this is talked about in Winning Secrets. Jeffro has talked about this before on his blog. We've talked about it a little bit here, but the idea is this: if you give players real autonomy, let them play the roles that their characters are, with just the game world and their role as the only constraints. If you give players real autonomy, they will choose to play in such a way that they are, accumulating resources and rewards for little or no risk. And this usually is done by avoiding, essentially, basically avoiding the implicit danger and threat of working with other players. So you end up with people going off and doing their own little kind of solo campaigns. Either it's during downtime or they're a faction. That's just what they're doing in the first place. And this idea of people going off and going out into the world and making a mountain of work for the referee that has nothing to do with anybody else. We call this idea diffusion, because everybody's spreading out. The play is spreading out. The action is spreading out. You're creating tons of stuff that's not.
You're filling the DM's head up with stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're doing a ton of stuff.
His efforts.
And this is natural. This is what you naturally would do because you're trying to win. You're trying to.
Well, no, what happened in 2022 when we were facing this is the referees all said, "Okay, high level characters in the campaign, just do whatever you want. I don't care." No, because the referees were so overburdened.
It was a survival skill. It wasn't callousness. It was a survival technique.
No, I mean, no, they didn't. They just the referees had so much a burden placed upon their attention and their time. They never got a break, and then they just at some point out of exhaustion, it's just like, yeah, go lair smashing every week. I don't care anymore. And that was obviously the disaster for the game, And I wanted Macho Mandoff to have to like fight for the expansion of his domain, or fight to keep it, or to have a decent rival. And Fluid the Druid would tell me like, well, go play the same game he's playing. And it's like, well, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to.
I don't have the time.
Mine the wilderness tables every single day of my life, and I this doesn't even. This is bizarre to me. Nobody wants to do that, man. So no.
All right, so let's get. I want to hear from Sirius. I want to hear.
Let me
finish your thought. Cool.
Not off that point. So that's diffusion. People going off doing their little solo campaigns, and convergence is when player A is doing something and player B is doing something, and A and B, their actions like interact somehow and create an attraction to other players. It's like somebody found a gold mine and somebody else like is digging into they found the same gold mine or whatever, and now they're fighting over it. That creates like something that's some kind of central focus in the campaign. The thing about scene is that it takes diffusion, so people going off and doing things on their own, and it broadcasts what's happening. So it essentially allows you to convert diffusion into convergence. If anybody looks at like a report and says, "Oh, that's kind of interesting. Like this guy seems like he's just basically got a gold mine over here and nobody's bothering him. I'm going to go get some of that." Right.
Yeah.
So it fixes this problem, and it does many other subtle things besides that.
Like, for instance, in that session report that Thule wrote, that's like 40,000 words long, like at the end, he gives a capsule review of the convergences of the campaign. And it's so specific and weird. I mean, you can tell that it's a very interesting conflict or a scenario that developed over time through a lot of different inputs. Those to me are always the best scenarios. If you've got 6 players have an idea or something that comes together, that creates really good scenarios that are worth playing, better than a module and better than a canned war game.
Yes, they're like 3 totally disconnected threads of events that
and
through
everyone
convergence
that's
became
involved
wrapped
in
together. Yeah.
right, they all care about it. They care about the
Mhm.
outcome. They're all invested. And also when they look at that particular battle, they're like, wow, you know, it happened just that way because of all these very, very small decisions made across a very large period of time, you
Right.
know, and individuals. And
Yeah,
so when you look
you
at
think about all the little things that could have been different, exactly, but
it,
they were just so.
and so as these campaigns progress, this is the beauty of Serious DM's campaign, is that because he didn't have as much friction and wasn't dealing with the kind of issues that would burn out DMs and also make players feel like nothing I do matters. He got more engagement out of everybody for a longer period of time. So you had these very rich convergences happening in different places on the map, and then elements from each of these things, like maybe the winner of each one, say, or the, you know, someone, the cream always rises to the top. Eventually those three threads come together in this like even more titanic battle that is even more specific to everything that had ever happened before. And this is yeah, I've said it's a remarkable achievement. I don't think anybody's seen anything that rich before in a single referee RPG campaign. I don't think it's ever been done.
Yeah, single referee, that's a good point. And I mean the scale of it, and there was so much going on. And I have to say that, you know, I wrote the report, but the reality is that things were actually so much more insane. The more you know about the campaign, there's so much more that was going on. Things are so much crazier and so much more awe-inspiring when you get to the end, that it's hard to capture all that though. It's something, it's like you have to have lived through all the experience of pushing through everything and not knowing this and not knowing that, and like, you know, figuring it out one day. And everybody, all the players in the campaign had this kind of experience. You know, Barros, he made a comment on the previous Drakenheim stream. He said something like, it ended up being the case that almost everything that happened in the campaign eventually converged into something at the end. And that's just because of the macro effect of scene.
Right.
That's phenomenal.
The conventional play is terrible because you go sit down at that table and everyone knows that their decisions don't matter. And then you have this weird culture that we were describing earlier, where if you do try to actually play like it's a game, you know, everybody, you know, it's like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1970s version. Donald Sutherland, right? But like imagine a role-playing game where the smallest action you take ends up being significant. I mean, and this is reflected in the source literature as well now, because it's just like, you know, imagine Bilbo ends up in this cave and like, what's there, right? You know, and then it changes.
Well, think about how Gollum got the ring, for example. That was a very small, seemingly irrelevant story. It became one of the most important elements in the larger war later.
You took my artifact out of play for an entire age.
So, Serious DM, let's say that someone's watching this and they watched the earlier Dundermoose episode, and so they've got an idea. We're not just speaking hieroglyphics to them, and they're like, I want to try this. How did you train your players to use scene well? And what is the practical? Is it a Twitter thing? Is it just one channel in your Discord? Walk us through the nuts and bolts of how we can set this up in our campaigns.
Okay, I will do my best with that. So, where I would start is organizing your server, to be honest. Organizing it in such a way that the rules are clear, they're posted, they're easy to get to. You don't have a lot of friction when somebody has a question about how to do whatever they want to do, whether that is create a character or send a scene post or send an order, whatever it is. you want to make that as easy as possible for players, and that just takes some time in wordsmithing and getting feedback from players who are confused about this or that thing, and then you go and you update, the relevant posts so that in the future that won't happen. So that's critical. As far as how to organize like the actual scene posts, yeah, that's just a separate channel in the Discord or whatever.
Are they DMing you their scene post and then you're posting it for all to see after you make it anonymous? And
yeah, so I have guidance again for, okay, when you make a scene post, send it to me like this, in this format. Give me the title, give me where this is seen, like where this is found, like a location, where this is relevant to, and then whatever you want to put, so you can psyop the other players. So they send that to me, and then I just post it from the same account.
So you don't do any editing, you just receive it and post it. No muss, no fuss.
Pretty much. There's like, a few edge cases where I might go back and forth a little about the content of the post, but more often than not, it's just exactly as written. I just copy paste.
Yeah. Now, Jeffro, dude, you have been everywhere lately. I don't know how you're holding up, but like, I can't remember which interview it was. Maybe it was John with Jack. Maybe it was mine. Probably not. We didn't really get too much good stuff with all the banter, but mentioned, what if we did scene on main? What if you put it out on Twitter instead of in the Discord? And I'm wondering, serious DM, did you hear him say that? And what's your thoughts about that? What are the pros and the cons?
Like, can imagine if there was a really, really good campaign, such as Drakenheim, and then maybe there was a blog where all the scene posts were dumped so that people outside the campaign could see how much fun everybody was having and how rich the narratives are developing.
It seems like a technical problem that
there's a lot of stuff
could figure out. It would, if it was a straight, like 1-for-1 copy, the news posts to a blog or something, it'd be pretty esoteric. I think there'd be enough for people to, stay interested. It's, just kind of wacky sometimes, but I try to, every week, I'll look through the last week of scene posts, and I'll create like a tweet can only be so long, so it's usually like 3 bullets or something of the most interesting things that happened.
Like the capsule.
Yeah. I try to summarize, and I have to cut so much.
Yeah.
See, no, I see those, and I'm like, that's not enough for me. I mean, I want to see the raw data.
Well, I mean, like you can come to my server, just any bro with creds can definitely come. Just anybody who passes the vibe check, like I'll give them an invite.
Right on. Well, okay, so not to show my own stuff, but as I mentioned, I have been trying to run A&D 1E in Umbros. And I am doing session reports. I have a Substack.
I saw where you delegated the dungeon restocking to a player character that had kind of died.
Yeah,
now you pioneered that on the player side of having characters come out of play, through whatever reason, and then become a bad guy faction that they maybe played a little grudgingly, and you injected all of that spice into that whole dragon egg heist thing. Like, what are your feelings on that now that you turned this guy's dead PC over to the forces of evil like that with an undead crocodile?
Well, so that's kind of funny story. Like, that was my first session. He was the first guy that died. I had I had gone on X and I'd asked, I need all of your crazy encounter ideas. I need your trunk stories. I need stuff that you haven't put in your own stuff. And if it's good enough, I'll put it in, give you a shout out in the session report. And a guy named Pulp Hummock Press, who he's any award winning. He's done the Gods of the Forbidden North. He said he gave me this exploding frogs encounter. And just because I didn't know what kind of campaign I was about to run, like the first guy, he was a paladin. He swam out into the middle of the wrong pond. It wasn't the moon pool. It was the other one. And the frogs bubbled up. And his guys tried to haul him out. And when they saw the frogs jumping out of the pond, they were like, it's time for him to worry. It's time for Lean Gene to worry about Lean Gene. And they all skedaddled. And there was a huge detonation and just killed him. And I felt so bad. I was like, first session, brand new guy. And so when I was doing the downtime, I thought I'm going to give him a little bit of extra downtime stuff. And so
wait, I have to say, like your stuff with the gods, the Norse gods coming in, it was very Elsprog de Camp.
Oh, okay. Right on. I'll take it. So the gods fought over him, and Loki tricked him. You know, it was Hel is the main, you know, the one that owns the mega dungeon, and her dad is Loki. Came in and basically he said, have a fight. Each of the goddesses that wants to claim you for her afterlife, summon a creature, and he has to fight it. And so I just thought, well, if whichever one kills him, that's where he goes. He's either going to the bottom of the ocean, he's going to Folkvanger, which is like kind of like Valhalla, but it's the other one. It's where Freya gets her weapon dead, or Hel's going to take him into the mega dungeon, and they may see him later. And he actually caught me with a technicality. He's like, no, every year's because like Hel's trick was I'm gonna choose your friends as my champion. Instead of summoning a beastie, you got to keep your friends from getting to the mega dungeon. You got to stop them at the moon pool, and if they get through, then you lose. I have your soul. But if you stop them, then you win. And he said, wait a second, everybody else just got to pick one champion. You don't get to pick all my friends. And I was like, crap, I didn't think of that. But I was like, I had Loki tell him, oh, she was really mad when you pointed that out. So she's going to pick one of your friends and you have to kill them. And if you kill that friend, Loki will return you to life. Right? So he fights the Ran is the goddess of the sea, and he fights a crocodile, and he's a white at this point. So he kills it by draining it of its levels. And so the crocodile becomes a white, as per the white rules in Monster Manual. Well, I didn't realize how lethal this campaign was going to be. I had 3 characters die from getting trampled by Triceratops in the night while a ranger was keeping watch. So I had to roll randomly because one of the it was Bob Stevens pointed out. He was like, "Hey, whichever one she picked is like, there's only one character that's not dead. It's Raccoon, played by Rump, because he just doesn't play with us, and so his guy's safe." So I rolled to see if it was Raccoon, and she didn't. She picked a guy named Dig Dug, who got stomped flat by a Triceratops. So it was like, all right, loophole. He gets to come back to life. And so he just kind of shows back up, like looking hale and healthy. But he has trapped the crap out of the dungeon. So there's a lot of traps there. And in the meantime, his pet alligator has gotten humongous. And so like the moon pool has a guardian, because I felt bad for the first guy that died. I realized I just had to harden my heart, because these players are going to die over and over again, and it's really awful.
Wait, this right here. So that dungeon level has been used over and over, and week to week, month to month. It's changing drastically. Why is that? Okay, other dungeons and other campaigns are not like this. They don't have this quality. They don't, right? So why
is got like 4 rooms?
The way you got a 4-room dungeon, and it's been like restocked and it's something completely different,
and they're terrified of it. Yeah. Well, but so here's the problem I'm having, right? It started off, B-Dubs was like, Moose, it's time. Just put a mega dungeon on the moon. I'll put a moon pool. They can get there. It'll be the easiest D&D you've ever run in your life. And so I grabbed one of my mega dungeons. And the only thing about it is the one that I chose has a key that you need to get into the mega dungeon. And I put the key on the ground, and they found it, and it was radioactive. It was like the Loch Nar. It killed everybody but 2 dwarves, right? This is where I need your advice about how to use scene, right? because the 2 dwarves that came back, I had 4 PCs all die of radiation poisoning because they weren't sharing information. One guy read the note that warned them, and he just put it in his pocket and told them, yeah, we need to get out of this room. And the other guy was like, well, let's not forget this. And he scoops it up into his satchel and like walks around next to everybody. And like every 30 minutes, they have to do a poison check. And if you get poisoned every hour, you're going to lose half your hit points till you're dead.
You got to gatekeep your friends, by the way.
So the players were dumb and they all got poisoned to death. And the worst thing about it is that the problem I have and my players are probably going to watch this later and like, I don't know if I'm wrecking anything, but I'm just going to say it. They're so dumb, guys. The key to the mega dungeon, the thing they're supposed to be going for, and it kills almost all of the party. Everyone dies except 2 people to get this. And they tried to sell it. They sold it to a dwarf named Cointhrall for 200 gold pieces. And then because of the Bronstein events, their patron is a wizard named Tooch. He betrays the dwarves and they kick the dwarves off their property.
Yeah.
And so you've got something that's like the Arkenstone plus the Ark of the Covenant. And you gave it to Thorin and you're like, we might need this back later, but if you want to hold on to us for us, I wish I had that stone back. And then boom, you got it. You put it in there, open the door. And
why are you trying to fix this?
I don't know. So,
like, I mean,
that to say, I gave them
the game is telling you that this mega dungeon is not what matters.
So the next adventure is a charity. I wanted to see how murder hobo they were. So I gave them the Have a Wish Foundation fundraiser for combating juvenile goblin polio. And the big surprise was they get attacked by 15 goblins in combat wheelchairs. And they were next to a bottomless pit, and they just spent 3 rounds throwing either scooping the child out of the wheelchair and tossing him over the edge, or throwing the whole wheelchair over. They killed all of them, and the prize was this scroll of limited wish that they were going to use to get some like limited relief from their disease. And the players just happily, greedily killed all of them and took that. And then the elf traded the scroll for some potions.
Yes, right.
I'm like, you guys got to be kidding me. And none of them are talking to each other. Like, I just tell them, here's the loot you got. Because, right, doesn't Gary say, let the players decide how they're going to divvy up the loot? And then I get individual DMs for downtime. Here's what I'm doing. And they're like, I'm going to sell this for baubles every single time. They just got a magic cloak. They don't know what it does yet. My first order was, I'm going to sell the cloak to Tooch. I'm like, you don't know what this thing does. So it's like, I can't get them to the dungeon. If I give them anything, they immediately trade it to a patron just for a few XP. And I'm like, you're not going to live long enough. The stuff I'm giving you to help, you need to get to level 1 of the mega dungeon where it's safe. But they can't. And that's what you're saying, Jeffro, is these are like little 1-pagers. These are little, I got this. Axebane's Deck of Many Dungeons. I flip out some cards. I get a small dungeon.
Why can't you just draw? Why can't you make up a 1-page dungeon yourself?
Oh, I can do that. I'm the next one. I do have one. It's Pigs at School of Magic and Usury. I killed 5 players on that in one.
No. See, I think what's happening is it sounds like what happened to me when I ran Troopulus in 2020, and that like the players just did whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. They're not talking to each other about the treasure. They're just whoever claims it first says, I sold it to this person for this.
But like they didn't want to go to just one dungeon over and over. Like they didn't want to.
Yeah.
They would go to a dungeon. They would like, this sucks. Let's go to somewhere else. And then they would go somewhere else.
If you tell them, if you basically indicate they need to go somewhere, they immediately lose interest and go in there.
Yeah.
And then eventually, and so then it was a question to me is like, well, what does it take to make a dungeon that someone will go back to when they have a choice, when they have a whole map, right?
Mm-hmm.
And eventually something will be like the dungeon that everybody loves, right? For me, it was Glovermore, and for Fluid the Druid, it was the Cave of the Were Cementar.
I love that so much.
But no, we didn't know. You don't know what's going to be important until you look back and you're like, oh, the players really love that. They still tell stories about that.
And some of the players are trying to give me advice, and they're telling me, this campaign is so lethal that it's not really, worth it for this and that. And maybe you should think about more treasure and stuff. And I'm just thinking, I've done what I can to make it not lethal, but you guys immediately hawk whatever advantage you get against the dinosaurs that'll trample you flat, or the key that'll let you. And you're so focused on getting a little bit of gold, a little bit of XP, and they give away every advantage that they could use to have more power or more survival.
Well, that's the other not thing. Coordinating either. You definitely should not listen to players who are not coordinating ever.
I made exactly. I made a dungeon like everything. It's the same thing. Everything's too hard. You're just trying to kill us all the time.
Yep.
No, so I made a dungeon. that had free treasure. It was it was just free treasure. It was like a massive treasure. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have mercy on you guys. And I was like, no, I can't give you a free treasure. I'm gonna put a trap that guards the treasure, and it's a trap that does 1 hit point of damage if you jump across this trench filled with blue stones, right? Yeah. And so the players went that, and they were like, "You're not going to work across that." and of course, on my dungeon, there's this massive treasure hall on the other side because it. We want to go down to the second level of the dungeon where there's troglodytes. And the troglodytes were tough for a first level party, and they just got their butts whooped. And then the players are like, "Oh, your game's too hard, Jeffro." And it's like, you're like, I don't care. At some point, Dunder, you will stop caring. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Because B-Dubs is like, he's brought Scudder for Mike in, and Scudder for Mike's bringing his boys, and it's like, I want you guys delve in the same dungeon.
No, you need to get Brigadine to play with the group because he'll tell everybody what to do.
I mean, the other thing is that you just got to tell players that to have faith that they can accomplish something and to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
because I'm like Mike, you can do whatever you want for a mega dungeon because my guys haven't even been they haven't even got the door open yet. So
this is the most lethal unentered mega dungeon maybe.
Yeah.
But the mega dungeon.
You can put it in you can put it in a PDF and sell it.
The real dungeon is the other players. That's all these demi-humans keep selling all the humans advantage.
No, yeah, dang.
All right, so skill issue. I understand it. I just wonder if there's a way that I could use scene to clue them into what each other is doing, so they could say, like, I want them as soon as the mission is over, saying, "All right, what treasure do we have? Nobody give it away until we understand how we could use this to not."
Let them play terribly, Dunder. Like, don't try to fix them. You can't.
Yeah.
Just like UHF, like the karate guy. You're so stupid. I'm sorry, guys. If you're watching this, I'm not trying to dog on you. Help me help you.
No. You're too humble. You're too humble, Dunder. It's not helpful. Like you just like you can put some training wheels level things on the map, introduce rumors to them. Can they do anything right? You just keep adding little things. And if they go, and if they want to go down to the second level and all have a total party kill because but let them. You have to let them.
Okay.
And if they can't figure out how to work as a team. Like that's on them. Like I've run the same dungeon scenario with different groups, and some people will just clear the level with no problems, and other people will die in the first room, right? So that is what it is.
Some of it's just luck. Thank you, Barros, for the $20. He says playing in Drakenheim has helped me make a better player. Helped make me a better player and a better person. Playing with you bros has been an absolute honor. Thank you, bros. Thank you, Jeffro. Thank you, Dunder. Thank you, Thule. And sincerely, thank you, Sirius.
Yeah. Nice. Very cool. Well,
Now,
you know,
Barrows, see, if Barrows was playing your campaign, that stuff wouldn't happen to him.
He's
And,
playing in
and if
my
he
campaign.
and if somebody, oh boy.
He was squashed by 2 Triceratops. He was the ranger that was
Okay,
keeping
yeah.
watch.
No,
at
I
night.
was saying he's not part of the, how should I put this? I have the instinct. I've seen him play in Drakenheim.
Oh,
okay?
well, see, that one
And
was bad luck.
I have
That
the
one was
instinct.
bad luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
So
next ranger went in and took out a multiple hit die creature, like bagged it himself as a first level ranger and dragged it back to Prince Ronan and sold it. So, yeah, Barrows is elite. I'm not. You know what? I'm maybe I'm playing it up for comedic effect, but there have just been a few choices that have just kind of astounded and frustrated me.
No, someday, I mean, if they get good, you're going to regret. You're going to miss these days. You know, you're going to be like, what the heck? These guys are 6th level now. I don't know what to do with them anymore.
Sirius is immediately thinking about some problem children.
Well, so how has the game changed for you, Sirius, as it's gone on? I mean, you started with some high level stuff.
Yeah. So the phase 1 famously ended with the entire obliteration of the world.
All right. Well, I don't feel so bad now.
But you know, that's the punchline of the after action report that Thule wrote.
You guys should read it. It's better than whatever you're reading right now.
It's good. It is good. But basically the world ended because the elder god of ruin was summoned, and well, he did what he does, which is ruin the world. So in the face of this, all of the last heroes of the age heroically threw up chunks of the earth into the sky to save them from the ruin, and then this becomes the springboard of the second phase, which is called the first phase was called Age of Power. This is called Shattered Sky, because the sky, you know,
got shattered.
You get it. So with Age of Power, everybody was like a superhero or had just crazy powers or whatever. You know, there was just everything going on. With this, so I'm trying to see what happens when you start from very low. Like everybody, all the PCs are level 1. There are 7 nations, even the nation leaders, normally patrons, right? You want to put them up at, you know, name level or something, but everybody is level 1. And we're seeing how the game develops as power is gradually gained and earned and used, right? We're seeing what happens there, because I know what happens when there's like when it's pedal to the metal and everybody it's just crazy. It's bonkers. So now we're seeing what happens when it's
I mean, in Age of Power, it wouldn't have been that big a deal if you ran into a beholder. But when everybody's level 1, and you run into one, it's a different story.
Everyone's got to take it serious.
Wait,
I got another.
There's something I don't get, and that is are both of these campaigns, the 20th level and the first level one, are they both run type 2 sessionless weekly orders? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. I try. I mean, when schedules can align, I'll do a session, you know, like a dungeon delve or whatever. But
the way to think of it is that type 2 Braunstein is the foundation of the game, and if you do anything different, you just do it for like a moment, and then you snap back to the type 2, basically.
Yeah.
Thanks for the $10, Flex Sky Treader. Who is your favorite PC in Shattered Sky, and why is it Flex Sky Treader?
How many players are in the level 1 game?
Right now, I think we hit 25.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've got like 7 in my nation.
I don't think anyone's ever thought to do a level 1 type 2 game. Usually it's factions.
The nations are kind of factions. So like my nation leader is a level 1, but I control a faction of like, I've got basically like guards, scouts, that kind of thing. So it's like I have the government under my control, and the government is sort of doing stuff. And I also have, I've tried to send out my character to do some stuff, independently or in correspondence with whatever the national project is.
And you were saying, I think you said earlier today, like in an email or something, that playing in this is like playing in more than one campaign, like several at once.
Exactly.
How is that explained? I don't get that. I don't understand that.
It's hard to explain, but it's like, so when you're a nation leader, your role in the game is a little bit like, because whenever anybody makes a PC in this campaign, they are slotted into a nation. So now, as a nation leader, I'm sort of lording over these guys, but also that gives me some responsibility over them, and I'm trying to get them to do things which make us more powerful, essentially, if that makes sense. So it's like I'm a manager. It's like I'm a manager of personnel. I'm a manager of the, like, let's say the NPC arm of my faction of the nation that I'm leading. The guards, like protecting stuff or clearing out a hex or scouting or so on. And also there are excursions everywhere. So there's like, I have to send a ship out to do this, to do some project with somebody. I have to send, I've got PC groups, multiple PC groups right now, doing two separate, basically, let's just call it two simultaneous sessions over the course of the week, put it that way. And so there's all kinds of stuff that I've got my hands in, and also my character, like my nation leader PC, is personally doing stuff himself. So it's like there's so much game happening.
Wait, so you're would you say that your role as a nation leader it kind of blurs the line between player and referee?
Yes, and it took me. I'm still getting used to it, because if you think about it, like there's a sort of a question of like, what is my role? Like, because I want to follow my role. That's how I like figured out how to play the other game. I just thought about, well, what's my faction leader character? What is he like? I did everything based on what that, the answer to that question. And in here, it's a little bit different, because it's like, does my nation leader want to focus more on getting the nation more powerful, or getting himself more powerful, and in what order, and these kinds of things. And it's a much more difficult question to answer.
So this is something that I'm seeing how it works, because so that there's the nation leaders. There's 7 nations. Each one has a leader, and then whenever there's a new player, somebody comes and joins the campaign, then there's instructions. Like they go to the welcome page, and the welcome page kind of walks them through, like, here's how you get started. And one of those steps is check out these nations. There's like a little blurb for each one, and you need to figure out which one that you want to join. And then each one is the PC options are limited by nation, and so that's.
Yeah, you can basically think of it as like the classes and the backgrounds and so on are restricted per nation. So the nations are kind of themed.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's different from Age of Power, where I pretty much said anybody can be anything. This time I took a much careful. I'm guiding the milieu a lot more closely than with Age of Power.
Right. This is the part where I say, oh, well, there's an RPG that came out in 1982 that does exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not going
to. But
we always played that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always played that way. We just never encountered any of the problems you guys have been talking about on that.
No, wait. Have you been adjudicating Drakenheim while you were on the show?
Me, no. No.
I did hear some notifications just a bit ago. Somebody's doing something.
Oh, the problem children are complaining about my comment.
But yeah, to your question, yeah, orders have been coming in, so I hear them ding.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay,
it's pretty.
So yeah, it's not just level 1, guys. There's man, this is do you know how much better it is? I mean, I'm telling you how much better it is. That's a rhetorical question. How much better it is that instead of like this book of lore, like the Forgotten Realms gray box set from the 1980s, which I mean everybody loved that set. It was pretty cool. It had nice parchment paper and nice little illustrations, and it was very cool, very hip, nice maps. But like how much cooler it is that your nation is like run by actual people, right? And it's actually a thing that's like doing stuff week to week and developing month to month. Like I just don't see. I just don't see.
And then I should really say that just like when you make a brand new fresh character, like a brand new fresh PC, and you're level 1, you just start doing stuff. You don't really know who that character is until he encounters something and he reacts to it. It's the same way with the nation. The nation, you don't know what you're going to run into when you're moving out, when you're trying to expand your territory and get control over resources. You kind of go with the flow, and that ends up characterizing like basically what your factional theme is, essentially.
Right. No, if I play someone in chess, then I know a lot about them. Like, I mean, you just know. I've heard that martial artists say the same thing. You know that you don't really know someone till you fought them, right? But yeah, it's and you don't really know what Dunder is until you walk in on him as he's like searching your room for
treasure.
For all that stuff that was listed in the pregame instructions.
Oh, I forgot my sunglasses. Hey, why does he have my forgery kit? Yeah. Oh, I just forgot what I was gonna say. You drove me right out of my mindset.
You're pulling in the super chats tonight, man.
I am. What's up with this? Thanks, Marinus. By the way, Marinus, the best RPer in Helldelvers so far. His cleric was, every time he spoke, he was totally in character. Moosgot will not be confined to milieu. He knows 5 copper is not enough for Chipotle bowl. So here's more for Moose Hobbit. Thank you, Moosgot. I appreciate that. Also, no, Moosgot is Sirius's favorite.
Yeah, recently I ranked my players, and Moosgot belongs to the nation of the goblins. And they ranked pretty high because they're making a lot of things happen. Also, yeah, they're really good about staying in character. So,
oh, I remembered what I wanted to say, and it was in regards to Greyhawk. Here's one of the things that I'll bet never happened in a published setting like that. I bet none of the political leaders ever did something absolutely brain dead and stupid. Right?
They never did anything. They never did anything.
They never do anything. They're just like background scenery, or they always make calculated moves that the party has to deal with. But like when you're playing with actual folk, and I know I've been busting my players' chops, but part of the hilarity is when somebody does something stupid and everyone throws their hands up and go, "Oh no, I can't believe you just gave away the MacGuffin stone for 200 GP." Like that's thinking hilarious. That's part of it.
Well, there's a whole dimension to that, which is that when you have nations that are run, I mean, not everybody can win, even if they play well. Sometimes you just get dunked.
Yeah.
Sometimes you run into a wall, and like that's where you are. Mm-hmm. That changes the game a lot. That defines a lot of things. I mean, like we have a nation that's basically, from my understanding, they're basically just starving. They're basically just starving to death.
Hey guys, this is a very important super chat. Dungeoneer here says this is the logical conclusion of Wesley's Bronstein. Every relevant character is played by another player.
Yes.
First of all, thanks for the 1999. Second of all, this man knows what he's speaking of. Dungeoneer here has played actual Bronstein. Dungeoneer here has played Banania at the conventions. Mm-hmm. And when he talks about what is different and what is the same, he absolutely knows because he's a bro and he's done it as well.
I saw he was actually the president. He became the president in one of the games.
He wins them when he plays them. He wins them. Here's the thing, guys. I really appreciate the super chats. It would do me a favor, and if you haven't already, if you're about to click that super chat button, instead click the link that I just put in the chat and go back. Winning Secrets on Kickstarter. This is the book of the year. All of the stuff we're talking about here, all of these winning secrets, all of the stuff that the BroSR has not only innovated but like taken flack for. Like, we got the scars to prove it, and it's the secrets are being revealed. So go get it. Go get on that. Buy your copy today. Make sure that you want to get the hardback so that you can say you were there when it all came together.
Right. No. You look at the replies to that Mephrodis thread, and you'll know how much work we put to make this hobby space for you. Like, we had to fight for every inch of ground. We had to like personally evangelize each person. Every single person, we had to have the same conversation. Oh, there's no rule in there like that. Yes, we post the screenshots. Well, it doesn't work. No, it works. Well, no one ever did that. Well, we don't care. Well, and that conversation.
You can do whatever you wanted to. Oh, but look at the part where it's in all caps. Yeah, but he said I can play how I feel. Like, we just gutted through it, and we're still doing it because we love you guys.
It's amazing to me how they all came up with the same constellation of objections. Like, they're all exactly the same. They all live in the same little, one little spot in the sky.
I got a guy on Twitter. His name is Noble.
This is
Shield.
Also explained in Winning Secrets, by the way.
Do you guys know Noble Shield?
No.
I'm trying my best. He's a flip
Thunder. We were talking about. Thule said the other day that's too much of BroSR rhetoric is tuned toward these 5 dudes that don't have a life apart from reply guying us and saying that they don't understand, or they're going to try this someday, or we're probably wrong about this, or we would try it if you weren't such jerks, right? Like, but you just, you got to let it go.
I feel like I summed it up with what I told him today. I said, don't worry about why others didn't. Very feminine coded to look for social proof of acceptance among the others.
He's been told so many times, dude.
Ask yourself, why, when you read the stuff Gary wrote, why do you leap to the loophole? Why do you seize so violently on any chance to get out of it? Ask that. Figure out why you, in and of yourself, are trying to slither out of this. And then that will be your answer for why everybody else did for 40 years.
That is actually a good point. Why do you end up in this constellation? What is it that drives you there? There's no reason. If you were your own unique person in control of all of your faculties and motivated by reason, why would you end up in this one little constellation with all these other lunatics?
Have you ever seen someone change their alignment in real life?
That's a good question, Jeffro. I feel like
this is why we're not in the room with Thunder Moose right now.
I feel like it's spiritual fatness. I feel like you're sitting there and you've been doing a good job. You've been like working out, and then you see that Dove dark chocolate piece sitting there, and you're like, "Well, I had some protein today," and you're gonna eat it, right? And it's not. It's because that's who you are. You are fat. That's your identity, and if you weren't fat, you wouldn't reach for the chocolate. It's not that the people that don't reach for the chocolate have more willpower than you. They don't need willpower because that's not who they are. And if you are trying to reach for the out every time, it's because you are in a very game sense, you are a rules fatty. You are game-mystically obese. I can't even say what you are, but you know what you are.
If Dubs was here, he would be insulting you right now.
If he was here, he would have killed that. He would have said it exactly the right. He would have been drunk and still got it right. You know. You're gonna grab that chocolate, aren't you? I'm sorry. What am I talking about? What are we doing? It's almost 2 hours in.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for your time and your effort and your energy, especially those of you who've been like on the junket. I don't know if you're even sleeping or whatever, but I'm happy you're back, Jeffro. If you guys backed, if you clicked on that link and you backed, you're going to get even more. Part of the reward is an essay that's only for backers. Very profound stuff about what we're talking about here. So definitely get in on that. And yeah, our anonymous says B-Dubs is rubbing off too much on Mr. Moose. That is a compliment, sir. I will take it. Let's go around. Any last words? If people want to, if they want to support you, if they want to get more of what you're doing, how can they follow you? We'll start with Serious DM.
Well, I said it before, but yeah, they just follow me on Twitter, send me a message or something. If they want to get in, then we should talk. Because, I mean, the nations are always hungry for more PCs, so let's get them in.
Just make sure you come in open, that you are trying to be a cultural fit and you are not trying to just resist and flip-flop like a skin tag in a wind tunnel. Jeffro.
I remember that one.
Okay, man, no, I've done 10 shows. I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, he's rung out. All right, Rule of Thule.
I would just say that if you were listening today and the things that we're talking about sound interesting but are unclear, all of this stuff is explained very thoroughly and from every possible perspective in Winning Secrets, and you should definitely 100% go there and back it. I guarantee you won't regret it.
Yeah, this is, if you're into gaming, this is the book of the year for you. If you're interested in just the struggle that I have, you'd think that I would be good at this by now. I talk to these geniuses. I have them on my show. I hear all their ideas. Now I'm trying it for the first time. And if you want to see me struggle, dundermoose.substack.com is my session reports. I try to do the sessions and I try to do a summation of some downtime stuff. I don't get all the downtime because
you're not allowed to editorialize until session 30.
Session 30. Okay,
like,
fair enough.
You're not allowed to be like, well, I'm still learning. No, it's been years, Dunder.
It's true.
Been years. Maybe you got some room to grow as a DM, but like just
I'm having a blast, and I'm having fun in a way that I never had when I was trying 5th edition conventional style.
Just let it.
Even the stuff that will burn you out playing this way, it will be the most memorable burnout, and you'll still think back on it. So, yeah. Thanks, guys, for being part of our audience tonight. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for all the love, and above all, #thank you, Jeffro.